Welcome to the PghGal Principal Podcast, where women school leaders and teachers come to share their school and classroom stories about teaching, learning, and leading. If you are a woman leader or teacher, I would love to have you on the show and share your story. Please connect with me on Twitter at eclaire_ahs or following my blog at pittsburghgalprincipal.wordpress.com. This is episode 7 of the PghGal Principal. Today I got the opportunity to talk to Kathi Kersznowski, an educator who has held multiple positions in the education field. She shares with us her passion for learning new things, her development of a badging system for teachers at her school, and so much more. Please enjoy the show. Hello everybody, I'm really excited today to be talking to Kathi Kersznowski. Kathi is a tech integration specialist in New Jersey, and that's a new position that she's taking on. She has served as both a special ed teacher, an elementary ed teacher, and a computer teacher. So Kathi, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Good morning. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for spending the time today for the PghGal Principal Podcast. This is exciting. I know our listeners will be, learn a lot from your story. So why don't we just start with you sharing a little bit about your background, how you got started in education, and then kind of take us through where you are today with this new position that you just started, tech integration specialist.
Okay, well, I'm really excited. I got my background in, actually I went for special ed. I went to Kutztown University in Pennsylvania, and I got my undergrad in special ed and elementary ed. So I was dual certified when I came out. I spent a few years teaching at all special education schools with more involved populations. And then I ended up in a public elementary school where I did special ed for a while, but then they needed somebody to, cross over and take care of some elementary ed. They had a really cool position then called multi-age. They don't do it anymore, but it was second and third grade combined. And I taught that for 4 years. I co-taught that. It was an inclusive classroom with 30 kids, and the idea that wherever anybody was, our job was just to move them forward. We had kids who were elders and kids who were youngers, and we capitalized on the strengths of learners in different areas. It was a really neat position. After about 4 years, they dissolved the multi-age 2-3 position, and so I went into second grade, and I taught that for 2 years. They needed somebody to come up to third grade, and I like change. I like change a lot. So I went up to third grade for a year, and then I went to fifth grade, and I taught fifth grade for 4 years. At that point, a computer teacher position in a different elementary school in my district became available, and I had been using so much technology that I thought, you know what, let me throw my name in the hat and see if they would even consider me. And I was tremendously honored in the end that they chose me for that position, because there were other people who had degrees in educational technology. I didn't. I was just such an avid and active and passionate practitioner that they chose me for the job of elementary technology teacher, which was fantastic. And I spent the past 4 years doing that. But what I'm really excited about is this past summer, my district made a commitment, as you see many districts doing, to creating coaches, literacy coaches, math coaches. Now our district is committed to having technology coaches, or as I call it, a technology integration specialist. And it's a newly created position, and when that came up, once again, I interviewed for that, and they just chose me. So as of 4 weeks ago, I have a new position, which I have not yet begun.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting. So you have a lot of experience, which is awesome. I'm really interested in you sharing a little bit more about your experience in the multi-age classroom where you taught both second and third grade, because we've been talking a lot in our district about sort of like the structures of school and how they don't really match what we know about student learning. Like, for example, we know that all students learn at varying paces, but we expect, you're 5 years old, you go to kindergarten. Now 186 days or how many days you go in a school district, no matter what, you're kind of ready to move on. So I'm really interested in that multi-age classroom and how that worked and kind of why it went away.
Emily, I look back on it, it was probably the hardest I've worked in my life. Like I said, it was team taught, and we had 30 kids, understanding that was a 15-to-1 ratio, which was pretty good. It was an inclusive classroom, so we always did have 7, 8, 9 kids in there who were classified. And the belief of the whole program was you can take kids of 2 different grade levels and put them in a classroom. And very often, kids who were in our 2nd grade were stronger, let's say, at math or at any particular given skill, not even a whole subject area. And so the constant belief was, let's, capitalize on those stronger skills, and we'll use those kids as leaders in their area. And then kids who maybe aren't so strong at one particular thing could be strong in another area. So we used the words elders and youngers a lot, but we also, when we did our planning, we thought about, well, who's strong at this, who's not so strong at this, who can we, capitalize on as a leader. So we used students a lot. The model itself was beautiful. I always thought of it as the yellow brick road, because I didn't think of it as a hill kids had to climb. I thought of it, I actually visualized that scene from The Wizard of Oz with the twisty yellow brick road.
That's a beautiful analogy.
Wherever they are on that road, we need to just move them along the path. And everybody's at a different spot. So it doesn't matter about their age, and it doesn't matter about their grade. You get them where they are, and you move them forward. And as an educational model, I 100% believe in that. The thing that fought us on that is standardized testing, district testing. And I believe that was ultimately why the classroom was dissolved, because 2nd graders have to pass 2nd grade skills, and 3rd graders have to pass 3rd grade skills. And so the state or the government, the testing was sort of fighting the concept of what we as educators all know to be best practice.
Mm. In New Jersey, in New Jersey, do 2nd graders take a standardized test?
They no. Back then they were taking kind of an IQ test kind of a thing. But the 3rd graders were taking what we had, what was called the PARC.
Okay.
We're taking that too. It was just such a beautiful model. When we did reading groups, we had 6, 7, 8 different reading groups, and we knew that going in there. But we used parent volunteers to come in. 2, 3 times a week, we had reading groups, and we called it VIP readers, which stood for very important parents. And we had training sessions for those parents, and we were able to split up and actually have adult at multiple reading groups. It was a beautiful, beautiful model. We taught thematically. So once a month, there was a new science or social studies based theme, and our reading and everything was based around that. Took a lot of planning, took a lot of time, but it was just such a fun and wonderful way to teach.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it was great just to have another adult in the room to bounce ideas off of, to not be the one that's solely responsible for the learning needs of, say, 20, 25 kids. It probably made your teaching job a little less lonely than it could be sometimes when you're teaching kind of by yourself in the classroom.
It's validating. I think sometimes, we wait until lunchtime until we can get to that faculty room to bounce ideas off other teachers who don't know our students in the same way that we do. So, you're telling a story, but the feedback isn't the same as somebody who's in that same situation as you, who's in there with you in the trenches and really knows the kids, the parents, the situation, they saw the learning or lack of learning occur, and you could discuss that. It was a really beautiful thing. And not only that, but I defer to the expertise of my co-teacher. And that's so nice too, because, even as teachers, we're still learners. And so we had different strengths. And it's co-teaching is fun.
Sure. Absolutely. I just go back to that analogy you said about not climbing a hill and following the yellow brick road. That's beautiful. Talk to me a little bit about your integration of technology at the elementary school level, because I think, and I don't know, I haven't spent too much time at the elementary school. I did work in a school that was grades 4 through 7, so it had a little bit of the upper elementary, but not so much at the K to 3. But when I listen to some elementary school teachers, they're a little bit more hesitant, I feel like, to bring technology into the classroom. But this is just my experience. So I'm just curious how you were able to do that. And I'm really excited that you were able to do that and cultivate that for your students. So just share a little bit about that, maybe some of the things that you did with your elementary kids.
I think I don't think we can go forward in education without the inclusion and the integration of technology. Kids are doing it when they're not with us, so to put them in a school or a learning situation and say, don't touch that. You can't do that. We're not going to use that. It screams against everything that they're doing in the real world. So it's where we are, and it's got to be happening. I probably started about 10 years ago with tech integration, and it was interesting because when I interviewed for the past 2 jobs that I got, they said, "Well, what books are you reading? How do you know what to do? How are you learning these things? What book is it?" I said, "You can't read books on these things anymore. You have to be online. You have to be on Twitter. You have to read blogs." I'm reading blogs. And back then I was following the marvelous work of Richard Byrne from Maine. And he writes a blog, as most people know, called Free Tech for Teachers. That's where I was learning everything. Everything that I knew, I was learning from him. And then I was going in and I was trying it with my guinea pigs, a.k.a. my students. And they were super, super receptive to it. So when it came to teaching writing, I got them out of those marble composition notebooks that they hated, and they were doing, revision after revision, and we were using different colored pens, and they had so many crossouts, and oh my gosh, revision was such a painful process. Who writes like that? I don't. I write on a word processor, and I hit delete, and I, click where I want to insert something, and so that's the way writing needed to be taught. So I created a wiki. And kids were writing on a wiki, which was a safe environment where they could publish their work. But it also had a little bit of what I call a Facebook element, because on a wiki, you can read other people's writing, other students' writing within the same environment, and you can comment on it. And so they weren't just putting something in a marble composition notebook and handing it to me to take home, lug home a stack of 30 anymore. Now their writing was online, and their classmates were their audience, and they cared more. They cared more about what they could write. I still use this model today because I think it's just brilliant. I'm getting such better writing. When I asked them to insert or revise, they didn't mind. They moved their mouse and clicked where they wanted to do that, and I could track all their revisions because, the beauty of online and word processing and so many systems that we have lets us go back and review those things. So I could even give them feedback on the progress that they've made. Look how far you've come from your first revision to where you are now. They really loved being able to share their thinking, and we talked about how to critique and how to comment on other students' work. So they became evaluative in their thinking. And that was another sub-skill that I hadn't planned on that came out of writing using technology. It just launched us into a whole new world through technology, and that was one of the great things. We did book clubs online, using things that I learned from Richard Byrne. Our spelling became online. We made talking avatars that would use science vocabulary or social studies vocabulary in meaningful ways, using websites like Voki, which lets you create a kind of a talking cartoon character. I tried to find ways to infuse technology into almost all of my lessons where it was appropriate, if it would enhance the lesson. And it almost always did.
Very cool. I love your willingness, obviously, to try new things, but also that you weren't putting technology first. It seemed like you were putting the pedagogy first and really thinking about what you wanted to get out of it. I should clarify, I have an 8-year-old son, and it could just be the perception of my 8-year-old son, but he comes home and he says he doesn't like school, and I always ask him, well, what would make school better? And he's a smart kid. I mean, he's a reader. He says he'd like to read more of what he wants to read, and he wants to use technology because he's a technology guy, is what he calls himself. So I would like to take my son and sort of insert him into your classroom, because it sounds like an environment that he would very much enjoy.
Oh, I want him. I would love to teach your son. That would be fantastic.
We can Skype him in.
We can Skype him in, and I believe, with reading, oh my gosh, with technology, there should be so much choice involved, and there's no reason he couldn't be reading on a Kindle or a Nook, using technology to do that. I love when the kids do that and they don't know a word, and, they can put their finger on that word in the text, and, a Kindle or a Nook or several of these devices on iPad, it will define it for them, use it in a sentence or say it in a different language, and even that has been enhanced with technology, just that simple, replacement, substitution.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you're starting a new position. which is very exciting. How do you see that position? Like, do you know a little bit about the details of what you'll be doing? What are you excited about? What are you hoping to accomplish in this first year? Just talk to us a little bit more about that new position.
I am thrilled out of my mind about this position. In my district, we have 6 elementary schools, and so my district is fabulous in the fact that they have committed to the fact that you can't just do technology workshops. Teachers can't sit and get some new tool for 45 minutes and then you set them free and never visit them again. So, huge kudos to my district for realizing this and giving teachers the ongoing support that they need. And I hope that I am worthy of this position. From the way that it's set up is that there will be 2 of us. So we've each been assigned 3 schools. Plus, we have an early childhood center, which houses a kindergarten, and we'll each spend some time there. So actually, over the course of a week, I will be at 4 different schools. I have been an itinerant teacher before when I taught in the state of Virginia long ago, but I've never been quite this itinerant. So that does make me a little bit nervous, but I look forward to all the friends that I can make in doing this and all the children whose lives hopefully I'll be able to touch and enhance. I have several different models, and I've been working on this. Even when I was a computer teacher, of course, the teachers come running, oh, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? And so I've been a bit of a resource. This just frees me up to really dedicate my time full-time for this. And there are many models that I'm really hoping to employ. And I just kind of made a great infographic about this last week. One of the ones, obviously, to do workshops of some sort. So I say I can do the big workshops, the full day workshops, or the half day workshops that subs would be required for. And a lot of the times that's those district mandates that I'm sure you have too. How to use your LMS and how to use, the new email program or the new online Google Classroom or Office 365 or whatever you're using. That stuff's required. And the teachers are interested because they have to, they're required to use it. And so, they need to know that. But also those mini workshops. And I'm looking forward to those a lot because I think that there's choice. And just like we want choice as educators, just like our students want choice. So when I do mini workshops, these would either be 1-hour workshops rolling throughout the day, which would require some principals to do some clever sub coverage, or the before and after school model. Here's a 45-minute quick whatever. Come if you're interested in learning how to whatever. And I'll have to advertise those and get those out. But I think that's where teachers can start to get excited about what they're learning and come for the things that they want. Last year I also started doing something called a tech play date. And that was a brand new thing, and I sort of just ran with it as a computer teacher, but I'll continue it this year. Once a month, from 4 to 7 in my computer lab last year. I opened it up originally to teachers at elementary schools and said, come from 4 to 7. I'm going to hang out after school. We could have done this in a Starbucks, but I don't have 30 computers for people in a Starbucks. So I did it in my computer lab, and I said, just come work on whatever you want to work on. If you don't have ideas, we'll have ideas here. There's no presenter. There's nobody in charge. There's not a front of the room that you have to watch. We just have computers and other people who like these things. And so come sit and share something or ask somebody, say, I've been wanting to write a blog. Does anybody here do that? And we will pair you with somebody who shares your interest, and we will start to facilitate that learning, not as a leader of the group, but as a group of friends, sort of. So we did those tech play dates, and I always got pizza because it's 4 to 7 and just like pizza. So we would have pizza after school, and I would make baked goods and things like that. And that was pretty well attended. By the end of the year, I made a great change in that we teach, we learn, we make mistakes, and we revise. I opened it up to the entire district by the end of the year, and I realized that the scope of what I had been trying to do was elementary teachers originally. And I realized that there's probably a greater audience for this, and maybe we can learn from our lateral partners, the people at the middle school, the people at the high school. And I even took it a step further, and I invited everybody. So secretaries, student teachers, paraprofessionals, anybody who wanted to come could come and sit and play with technology in a safe, non-judgmental learning environment for a few hours, as long as they wanted to stay once a month. So that was pretty successful, and I look forward to continuing that.
Absolutely. Wow, that's almost like a mashup of like a localized ed camp in a way, where you just come in the agenda, if you will, is created by you when you get there and in the room.
Exactly. Actually, I'm so happy that you said that. I am a huge Ed Camp supporter and believer and fangirl. That's another thing I'm hoping to bring to my district, is to bring in an Ed Camp, even if it's just a district Ed Camp where, the sessions are generated by the participants, and, the genius of the room is in the room, and it happens on the spot. It's a beautiful thing. We haven't experienced that in my district. I haven't gotten too many friends or colleagues from my district to go out and join me at Ed Camps. I've been to well over a dozen myself now, but that's definitely another thing in this new position that I'd really like to bring in to the district.
Absolutely.
And I'd love to get some people out to other ones, because there's just so much learning that happens when you get out of your district and you talk to people on Twitter or at Ed Camps or wherever. It's that has been the number one greatest growth opportunity that I've had in my career. And I've been teaching for over 20 years, but I didn't get connected until about 2 years ago.
Wow.
And once that happened, it was like I rocketed into another universe.
Well, I've only known you for half an hour, but I can tell that because you want to make that happen, it's going to happen.
Oh, thanks.
So that's really cool. So I see, you made some notes for me, and I see that you went to ISTE, and I am so jealous, and I would love to hear your experience there as I try to convince us here in my district to go to ISTE next year.
ISTE is, I said it was like the world's greatest choose your own adventure story, because you get, this was only my second ISTE. I live close to Philadelphia, so I went to the one here last year, and then this one was in Denver. It was actually a Christmas present from my husband that I opened a gift bag, and there was a certificate. It said that I paid for your plane ticket and your hotel for ISTE. I know how much you love this. Go enjoy.
Oh my gosh! Your husband deserves a hug.
I know.
How cool is that?
And he knew what ISTE was. So, and once he did that, then my district again was super kind enough to pay for my actual ticket to go. So, the admission ticket. So ISTE is fantastic. It's super, super overwhelming. There are a million things going on at once. It was at the Denver Convention Center this year. People blog about ISTE after ISTE. What is your takeaway? What did you learn? There are so many learning sessions that you can go to, and there's an app for it. So I populated my app with everything that I wanted to go to before I got there. I had like 8 things scheduled for the same time slot every single day. There was just so much. I couldn't make it to most of what I wanted to do. And then, of course, you want to get to the vendor floor, too, because there's excitement there as well. And the vendors want you there, too. I'm sorry. But,
That's okay.
My biggest takeaway is make friends and network when you go to ISTE. Everybody's there. People that you don't know, people that you followed online, people that you can just have great conversations with in the hallway from different states, from different countries. They did report out how many countries were there. I don't know. I think it was like 50 countries or something were represented at ISTE. So you've got global connections that are happening there. My number one favorite part of ISTE is to make those connections, have those conversations, sit in rooms or hallways, whatever, and just talk to the guy sitting next to you or the lady sitting next to you and learn on the fly.
Very cool. Did you have a favorite session or anything that you went to, or I'm sure there were so many?
It is. Emily, there's a guy from New Jersey here who actually he and his wife sort of ran this thing in conjunction with some other people who I can't remember, but it was called Teach Me. And if you've never been to a Teach Me, it again is a fabulous thing. It's not like at camp. It's very different. Teach Me at ISTE they had this room reserved for the entire day, a big room with a whole bunch of round tables, and everybody could just sit in there. And you kind of fill out a little card, and you can go up and present for either 2 minutes, 7 minutes, or 10 minutes about something that you want to talk about. So you're just all day long seeing different speakers from different places have that bravery to come up and share something cool in front of a room. And of course, somebody started a Google Doc, and the notes were flowing as this was going on, and there are just oohs and ahs, and oh my gosh, that's so cool, I have to try that. It's coming at you from a whole bunch of different speakers. There's no way you can't be excited about that.
Wow.
So Teach Me was probably my favorite thing.
Okay, I've never heard of Teach Me. So is that like kind of a regular thing that conferences are doing now, or?
I know, well, this is only my second ISTE, and I know that they did it last year at
Okay.
ISTE.
Okay.
And so I went to it there, which is what led me to it this year. But Teach Me New Jersey, I can look up the date for you, but there's one coming up. I believe it's in August. It's in a few weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, they're having that out by Tom's River, somewhere out of the Jersey Shore. And it's a cool thing.
Very cool. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely have to look that up. That sounds interesting. Something. Thank you. I haven't learned about that before. Very cool. So I see that you have created an entire online digital badging platform for educational technology, and obviously you've kind of connected with Laura Fleming. I'm a huge fan of her work and love her and follow her both for the making aspect as well as what she's been doing with digital badging with her staff. So share with me kind of your vision for that, where you've taken it, or maybe you've just built it and you're planning to kind of unroll that for next year.
Emily, it's one of the things I'm so excited about because it's the way that I like to learn. And let me just preface this by saying the very first Ed Tech conference that I went to outside of my district was called Edscape. It was in New Jersey. It was in 2014. It was way up at the top of New Jersey. I had never been to a conference that wasn't directed by my district. It wasn't, here's what you're going to learn today, sit in a chair, here's what we're going to, it had choice, so I got to choose my sessions. And this was just 2014. And one of the sessions I went to was Laura Fleming, who I had never heard of. I just wasn't part of this world. So I sat in there, and this woman's talking about digital badges, also never heard of them. And, she's showing them on the screen, and she's talking about how she facilitated this, and she has her own webpage, and it was so above my head, and I was so enamored with the idea that I left determined. I went to 4 sessions that day, and I can't even remember the other 3 because that was really my focus that day. So I left, and I learned over the next couple of months. Part of what she had taught. I learned some platforms for creating digital badges. I used one called Credly. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to create a website. Like she has a WordPress.com website. I didn't know how to do that, but my district provides me with a website. So over the next several months, by Christmas of the next year, I had developed 18 badges. The criteria for the physical badges, but also the criteria that people would have to achieve in order to earn that badge. I also created little screencasts of how to do that web tool. So, for instance, one of the things in there is a website called, so I mentioned Voki before, and that's just a talking avatar website. Very easy to use, but a great tool. So I made a quick little screencast, and I put a link to the website. So on my digital badging pages, you can see the cute little badge that I created, a brief description of it, the screencast, which is short, 3-4 minutes, that somebody could watch to sort of get a clue, and a link to the website, so they could go out and try to learn the digital badge on themselves. The criteria in order to earn the badge through the Credly website is always to demonstrate use of that with students by a video, a photograph, a link, upload a document, something has to be submitted through the Credly website, and then you can earn this digital badge. And what does that mean? It stays in your Credly account. It's got all that metadata, is what Laura Fleming calls it, connected to it. It's proof that you were able to not only take control of your own learning, but implement it in a meaningful way. And you don't get that badge unless you've done that. So you've got this repository of accomplishments digitally. And we've got teachers. I did start to use it last year. Okay, so I used this digital badging platform, and we had 18 to 20 of them on there. And in sort of beta testing it and rolling it out on a small scale, we had over 200 badges issued last year.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Kathy, you're amazing.
No, what's really amazing is that the district allowed me to do it. They got behind this, and they said, let's try this. And they let me put it on a district website and just sort of roll it out. And I said, well, I'll handle it, and I'll, whatever snafus or things come up, I'll deal with them, and we'll figure this out together. So they're okay with testing things, and they're okay with failure, and they're okay with, trying and risk-taking. And I'm really lucky that I'm in a place that's supporting that. So
absolutely. I think they recognize your innovative spirit, too.
I
think they do. Now, is this Is it on the badges are on a web page then? Is this something that can be accessed by people outside of your district, or is it just localized for the teachers in your district?
Right now, it's localized for the teachers in my district. Now, honestly, I sent you the web link for it, so you can absolutely go and look. If I have people from all over the place who are applying for my badges, which Laura Fleming has opened hers wide up like that, right now, not everybody in the district knows that, but I'm sort of like the Oz behind it, so I have to look at and approve all the criteria and send that out by myself. I'm sort of managing it on my own,
Right.
which is why I'm keeping it in the district for right now, just because I'm still figuring it out. 1 year we did it. It wasn't that hard. It wasn't that much to manage. My hope this year is to expand the digital badging opportunity beyond the elementary school teachers, and hopefully, if the district gets behind this, open it up to our middle and high school teachers so that they can choose what badges they want, go get PD when they want. Some of the badges take an hour to learn, some 15 minutes. It depends on your level of expertise. Some they may need support for, and that's where an instructional technology specialist or coach can come help with that. But I have to tell you, the last 2 badges are my favorite. So I want to go there for a second because
go there.
The second to the last badge on the page, and they're not sequential in any way, but I purposely put these 2 toward the end. The second to the last one is a screencasting badge. So in order for you to get that, you have to create a screencast and submit it to, the digital badge person, awarder, which is me right now. And doing that gives you the skill of creating a screencast. So now you have a free tool. It's Screencast-O-Matic, a free tool, and you know how to do that. The very last badge on the page is called the Digital Leader Badge. And in order to get that, you actually have to create a screencast of a website that you love, that you think others could benefit from. So you send that in to the Credly account, and that gets approved. Well, now I can add, all I do is create a pretty little badge and the criteria, but somebody else has created the screencast for me, and now we have a new web tool to add to our list. So my list of 18 or 20 grows to 21, grows to 22, not because I'm doing more work, but because the teachers, the learners, are involved and excited about ed tech, and they're contributing to the growth of the digital badge platform.
Absolutely. Now you have people that you can go to who could possibly also serve as the behind the scenes kind of issuer of the badge, possibly, depending on how it takes off.
And we're growing leaders, so we're creating more leaders, which is another thing that I believe in. I think that's important. So we do have tech experts, in our district, and people who are good at these kinds of things. Why not empower them to help grow the website and to, be a contributor? And actually, on the little digital badge website, whenever anybody does that, they get credit. It stays there forever. So, this badge was created by and contributed, by so and so.
Absolutely, very cool.
So yeah,
absolutely. So speaking of digital badges and proof of learning and all of that, part of your Twitter profile picture is a little kind of image of Microsoft Innovative Educator as well as a Raspberry Pi Certified Educator. Can you share a little bit about that? Tell us what that is, as well as how you get it, why you got it, why you think other people should do the same.
I grab opportunities to learn wherever I can, to a fault sometimes. I attend web camps or ed camps. I go to conferences. I'm doing a webinar later today. I'm doing a second webinar tonight. I'm always looking for opportunities to learn. I've got this growth mindset that is just on overdrive. And so Microsoft, my district, instead of going with Google, has chosen to go with Microsoft as our online platform. And although I've used Word and PowerPoint, I've used those basic desktop apps for a long time, there's a whole new world with Microsoft Office 365. And so as a computer teacher, I felt like it was my responsibility to learn that and to learn it first. I kind of always have that, I've got to learn it, I've got to know it before people come to me with questions. And now in my new role as a technology integration specialist, I'm really going to have to know that because I'll have to support other teachers in learning that. So Microsoft's entire learning platform is online. You can go get this. You can achieve this. Microsoft Innovative Educator by just doing some online classes and taking these quizzes and earning some little badges. They have digital badges too, and you can get them as well. And I was just sort of driven to do that. So I sat here at night and I did the classes and I did the courses until I got that certification as a Microsoft Innovative Educator. I went a little bit further and I got the Microsoft Innovative Educator Training Provider Badge certification, so that now I can provide trainings and sort of I have a log where I can get credit for that. Again, that's important in my career, so I just took it upon myself to learn and go do that. And I do that with a lot of things. Raspberry Pi was the same way. I was on Twitter. I had a Raspberry Pi. I bought a Raspberry Pi and left it in the box for a year because I was intimidated by this little thing. If you don't know what that is, it's a little computer. It's about the size of a credit card. It looks like a little tiny green motherboard with nothing coming out of it. But it is, in fact, a full-on computer, and it's a pretty amazing device, and I just didn't know what to do with it. So on Twitter, when they said, hey, we're from Britain, and we have these Raspberry Pi academies all over Britain all the time, and we teach people how to use these things, we're going to have our first ever in the United States. We're going to have that out in Silicon Valley, in Mountain View, California. Apply if you want to come. And you don't need any background in this. And I thought, oh my gosh, well, I have no background. That's great.
And who doesn't want to go to California?
For a weekend, actually. So it was crazy because I filled out this whole application and I was super, super excited. I was actually, kind of skipping around the house when I found out I got it accepted.
Absolutely.
And figure out, oh my gosh, how are we going to rig a plane and get there and everything. So I flew out on a Friday morning, attended Pi Academy in Mountain View, California with this amazing team of brilliant, very cool, great educators from England with whom I'm still friends. And I learned the basics of how to use Raspberry Pi in a weekend, and I was back at work Monday morning.
Oh my gosh.
So much fun. But there were 40 people there. And again, the connections that I made. So if I didn't learn how to do every single thing with a Raspberry Pi that I ever wanted to do in 2 days of a whirlwind, guess what? I've got 40 people, plus the team from Raspberry Pi from England, who are amazing. So it's the connections that I made, and I can continue to learn through the help of my friends. So it's not just about seeking out the learning, but it's about seeking out other people who are passionate about learning, who can help you learn and grow.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I didn't even know about that. I mean, I knew what a Raspberry Pi was, but I didn't know about this little weekend training. Have they done additional ones since then?
They did a second one out in Mountain View. They have a third one coming up, I believe it's this summer, down in Baltimore.
Okay.
And then they're going to do a fourth one in Boston. So if you're on Twitter, follow Raspberry Pi, follow Pi Academy, and go ahead and apply.
Okay. That was going to be my question, if the application was past due or if it was still open. Sounds like it's still open.
The Baltimore one, I think, is past due, but I talked to them. They were at ISTE, so I ran into my British friends at ISTE, and yeah, they told me that they're going to do another one in Boston.
That's cool. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. So you're a busy lady and taking on things that you don't necessarily have to, if you will, just things that you're passionate about, which I just love because I do that myself. And, sometimes you get teased about it. I often get teased about my activity on Twitter, but I need that connection, keeps me inspired, keeps me challenged, all of that. But, the question I always have for women, because I have it for myself, is how do you find that balance? And I know there's not an answer, but, just kind of share how you stay inspired to do the difficult work that you're doing, as well as how do you sometimes just stop so you can, be with your husband and have that family life too.
Emily, I think, if I went to an interview and you asked me what my greatest weakness was, that would be it. I have trouble with balance sometimes because I love what I do, and I think I'm at such a pivotal place in my career that everything is just fun, and there's so much learning and opportunity, and I have to be good at everything, and I have to, I don't put a lot of pressure on myself. I wouldn't call it pressure because it's so much fun, but I get carried away with it. And I think I wrote to you in my little notes before this, my husband said to me a few months ago, he was joking. He was totally joking. He said, oh my gosh, if I were a Raspberry Pi, you'd pay more attention to me. And I stopped and I thought, that is awful. Oh my goodness. Like, what have I become that, he thinks that if he were some piece of technology, I'd be more interested, and so right then I unplugged. I needed to just unplug, get away from it, put it down, step away, go be with him. And I think that's important. For me, I almost need to go cold turkey in that way. Don't even take my cell phone out to dinner. Don't, plan a camping trip or something where I don't even have Wi-Fi. I think that's important. My son teased me too because he's 17, so he's a texting freak right now, and that's what he does. I mean, our date is almost always over because of him. But he said, Mom, if you added up all of my texting time, it would probably be equivalent to what you spend but on Twitter or your blogs or your webinars or your self-training that you do. And he's right. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I kind of justify mine in that it's professional and it's more productive. It probably is. It's time well spent. It's almost like learning time. But he too keeps me grounded, and he reminds me that sometimes step away. You don't always have to have a device in your hand to be appreciating life and your family. And that is something that I struggle with and I'm working with a lot.
Sure.
Somebody on Twitter had the great idea to take one day a week, like Sundays, and just don't be on the internet. I can't do that. I'm not that committed yet because sometimes great things happen on Sundays that I need to be connected to. So for me, it's short periods of time where I have to step away from it. But I'm professionally driven, and I need to remember that family first.
Yeah.
So I'm working with that. Right, it's hard for women.
I get that. I don't know if you've read any of the work of Dr. Tony Wagner. He talks a lot about innovation in schools and all of this, but he has a kind of a theme that I think that mirrors what you're doing, and it's play, passion, purpose. And it's this whole idea that when you give people time to play, they eventually sort of find their passion, which I think is what has happened with you. And then because of that passion, they have such a intense purpose to do something that it's not work anymore. It's just, what they do because they've learned how to play and tinker and wonder and all of this. And then they become passionate about something because they have a really great purpose to do whatever it might be. And I think that exemplifies kind of what you just talked about, trying to find that balance. So I think that's great. I don't think it's anything you need to apologize for, but I'm sure your husband appreciates the few minutes that you step away a little bit. That's just great. Now, you've done some writing lately and are going to be publishing an article. Can you share a little bit about that?
That just happened yesterday morning. I'm so excited.
Oh, did it get published?
I feel like such a grown-up. I feel like I'm starting to arrive. So I am currently pursuing my master's degree in school administration because I want to be a change agent, because I think there's so much work to be done, and I don't know that I have enough of a presence or a voice right now. And so I'd like to keep this in my back pocket. And I graduate in May.
Very cool.
So thanks. So as part of that, I am I'm doing a lot. So I try to keep a blog so that I'm reflecting and doing some things on what I'm learning. And I also have joined the ASCD as a junior member, because I'm not an official supervisor yet, but I've joined the ASCD. And yesterday I also joined the New Jersey Principals and Supervisors because I believe in not only pursuing things like certifications and degrees, but also affiliations. And so now I'm a member of these. So I reached out to ASCD and I said, I do write a blog and I've got some ideas, and I was wondering if you would consider publishing something. And that's just such a crazy leap, because if you read anything in the ASCD, these people who write for them are awesome. And they're people that I follow, and, they're kind of education rock stars. And they got back to me and they said, yes, we really like this one blog post, this article that you've written, and we would like to publish it. So it won't be in the ASCD magazine, but it will be in the ASCD Edge, which is their online magazine. And that'll be my first sort of professionally published thing. But you know what? Now I'm driven, so now I have to write more.
First of many. I'm expecting a book out by you soon.
I have thought about that. I thought about it last night, and I thought, you know what? Corwin Press does a lot of really cool things, and I think that may be my next step after I graduate in May, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if you follow the Teach Like a Pirate, Dave Burgess. That could be somebody you could connect with too. I mean, he has his own publishing company. I bet you could share something with him. You have some really great ideas.
Thank you. I don't know him, but I know people who do know him, and yes, I'm aware of his books. So
yeah, but
yep.
You didn't know anybody at ASCD either. All it takes is an email, a tweet, a direct message. That's what's another wonderful thing about social media is those connections you can make without knowing someone.
Right. Thank you.
Do it, Kathi. I'll hound you if you don't.
That'd be wonderful. I could use that. Thank you.
Yeah. So, just some advice, kind of the last question. Advice to a teacher who's kind of feels like they're in a rut, something to get them started on this journey, play, passion, purpose, if you will. What's one thing that they could do next year to help ignite a spark?
Get connected. I didn't even have to think, right? So get connected, and whatever that means to you. So if it's get the heck out of your district. Find people who aren't in your little microcosm world, because that's where I was for so long, and I didn't realize other things were going on. And I'm not even going to say better or bigger. I'm just going to say different, because we live in that bubble. And when I got connected, mine was through going to that Edscape that very first time, and that's how I found out about ed camps. And then I figured out what the heck to do with Twitter instead of following Rachel Ray and Oprah Winfrey. That's what I had done. So once I got connected, I thought, I just started to learn, oh my gosh, people are using Google? Really? There's augmented reality. What is this? What's STEM? What's STEAM? I didn't know, because a lot of people I work with don't know. They're just not there yet. And I think once you make that leap and you get connected and you're in touch with other people, even if it's not a lot, if you can just get outside of your comfort zone and learn new things, not even purposefully, just learn by listening and lurking, oh my gosh, it opens up so many windows, so many doors, so many opportunities, and you can't help but want to grow.
Absolutely. I agree. Now, after I release this and people listen, I know they're going to want to connect with you. Speaking of being a connected educator, what is the best way? Can you kind of run through your Twitter handle, your blog, so people can further connect with you after they listen to this? Sure.
On Twitter, this is pretty easy. It's Kerszi. So it's Kerszi. So I'm from Jersey, right? So there's Kerszi from Jersey, so that's how you can remember it. It's that SZ part that's a little bit weird. But
very cool. Okay.
Okay, so it's at Kerszi. That's my Twitter handle. I have a Facebook page, and some of my tips and things go on there, and that's called Integration Innovation.
Okay, and your blog. How about your blog?
My blog is Kerszi, same thing, Kerszi, at WordPress.com.
Okay, and we don't know what it's going to be yet, listeners, but we're expecting a book out from Kathi in the next few years. Well, Kathi, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. You're a busy lady, and so I appreciate you just taking a few minutes out of your morning to speak with me. You have a wonderful story. I love your passion. I can't wait to see what you do in the next couple of years. I can't wait to see on Twitter what you're doing with this new position that you have. I'm really excited for you as well as your district, because I know you're going to make a great impact there.
Thanks so much, Emily. This has been really fun for me, too, and I appreciate the good work that you're doing, and I can't wait to hear not only this podcast, but all of your podcasts.
Thank you.
And learning from the experts that you find through your connectedness.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a good day.
Thanks. You too, Emily. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for listening in on the PghGal Principal Podcast. I am always excited to connect with women in education, learn how they are balancing work and home, as well as challenging the status quo about what it means to be a successful woman. My podcast is all about elevating the voices of women, so please share these stories with your friends and your colleagues. Find me on Twitter at @eclaire_ahs. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.